What we do here is go back.
Sorry, there was some confusion about the time we were supposed to do this today, so hope everybody made it that was supposed to. Anyway, I see some Elviras out there.
All right, this one on too? Yes, it is. We're good, right? Everyone can hear me now again? Cool. All right, so welcome to Niagara Falls. How you settling in?
I love it. I went on a helicopter ride over the falls, and that was awesome. That was really beautiful. It's been great here. Lots of fans. Can you guys hear me okay?
All right, so just so you guys know, by the way, Cassandra's going to be on the cover of, I think, not next month, but the month after. We have an exclusive interview with her in Fangoria, so pick up that issue, but I'm sure we're going to cover some of that ground right here. Right off the bat, one thing I found when I was talking to you is that you don't just walk the walk, you talk the talk. You grew up loving the movies that you've introduced over the years, is that right?
I did, absolutely. It wasn't a mistake that I got into this gig. I mean, it was a lucky break that I heard about hosting these horror movies in LA, but I grew up worshiping the old Roger Corman films, you know, the Vincent Price films, the Hammer films when I was a kid. And also, I was the only geek in my entire school building little Aurora model kits of Frankenstein and Dracula, which was a really weird thing for a girl to be doing back then. It was like, other people stayed away from me. But yeah, I've been into horror movies and that whole genre since I was a kid. And also, the thing I forgot, my mother owned a costume shop. I ran a costume shop in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Peterson's Partyland. And I grew up in the costume world. I was dressing up in a costume all inappropriate times of the year. I didn't have to wait for Halloween. I dressed up and went to school in costumes. And another reason that the children stayed away from me. So anyway, I was kind of tailor-made for this gig, I think.
Well, and if I remember correctly, you kind of fell into it, right? This wasn't a gig that you weren't set as a kid to come out and host horror movies, am I right?
Yeah, no, I was working in Los Angeles in the Groundlings theater, which is an comedy improv group that a lot of people have come out of, notably Pee Wee Herman and Phil Hartman, ex-Canadian now. But 1,000,001 people, half of the cast of the Saturday Night Live, you guys probably know, came from the Groundlings. Will Ferrell now and Mary McCarthy, both Groundlings. And anyway, I was in the Groundlings and I heard about a gig. I was always looking for acting work, of course, and I was always going on auditions. And a friend of mine told me about a gig hosting horror movies, and I thought, well, that's right up my alley. Unfortunately, I was on my honeymoon at the time, and I didn't want to come home from my honeymoon, so I told them I would have to pass. And came back from my honeymoon a couple weeks later, and they still hadn't found anybody, and I went in, auditioned, they came to see me at the Groundlings, and strangely, he liked a character I was doing at the Groundlings. It was kind of a dorky valley girl actress. It was really like egotistical actress. I don't know what the hell she was. But he really liked that character. And he said, I want you to do that character, but I want you to come up with a spooky look. So I was like, okay, those don't go together at all. But as long as you're paying me $300 a week, I will do that. So I did, and it really kind of worked out.
But the original look that you showed up in costume when you went for the audition isn't who we see now, is it?
No, well, originally I went on the audition looking just like myself. And I walked into a room full of women with fangs and long black hair and, black leotards and flowing dresses. It was like, like somebody invited you to a costume party but forgot to tell you to wear a costume. It was that feeling. It was like, oh my God, I really blew it. Nobody said anything about a costume. But then I got the gig, and once I got it, I was supposed to come up with a look. And my initial look, my best friend was an artist. So he drew the picture, and he and I were both huge fans of Sharon Tate in the Fearless Vampire Killers. So we went totally for this look that looked like her. It was a long, flowy, see-through kind of pink gown that was all tattered, and real white face, and long red hair, and kind of black circles under my eyes, kind of dead girl kind of look. And the station managers looked at that and were like, no, you have to wear all black. You got to be all in black, black hair. And I was like, really? That's so typical. And anyway, we went back to the drawing board, and that's what my friend Robert came up with, is this look. And he did the typical vampirist kind of look, but I like that he did his favorite singer of all time, Ronnie Spector's hairdo. And that really changed it up, he calls it a knowledge bump. I don't know where he got that, but that's what he said it's called. So the hair, and also he did the makeup from a kabuki theater makeup book that he had. So that's changed it up a little. And then the black dress he just made as low cut and sexy as humanly possible that you could get away with on TV. And it worked.
You had no reservations on your end from, showing off your assets throughout the show?
No reservations on my end. I am a former showgirl in Las Vegas, so everybody was saying things to me like, oh my God, what did your mother say about you being on TV in that outfit? And I'm going, she is just glad I'm finally wearing clothes. So, yeah, as far as they were concerned, I was covered up. It was great.
So what was it like when you first started hosting these movies? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Was it just another gig that you figured this isn't going to last?
It was just another gig that I figured wasn't going to last. I'd been through a lot of parts on TV. I'd been playing a deaf mute on the Fantasy Island. I think they made me a deaf mute because they didn't think my acting was all that great. The part actually started out with words, and then next thing you know, we're going to change your character to a deaf mute. I'm like, oh, that's sad. And I'd been on that. I'd been in Cheech and Chong's next movie with one line, and it was funny that if anybody saw that Cheech and Chong's next movie that I'm in for about 2 seconds, I play. We were kind of like Charlie's Angels, and there were 2 other girls. One was another Groundling, kind of unknown now, Catherine, I can't think of her name, but the other one was Rita Wilson, who later married Tom Hanks. So she's doing pretty good. But we were the Charlie's Angels. So anyway, one of my big parts. And let's see, what did I play also? Oh gosh, I was a stripper, of course, on Happy Days. I'm sure the only time they ever had a stripper on there, and I played it, of course. But anyway, so I totally lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was talking about. What?
Good point. Any reservation? Like you said, this was just a gig you figured you'd have for a couple weeks and you'd be done.
Yeah, no, I absolutely thought, if this thing keeps going, and the movies were so bad, I mean, I liked them, but I didn't think anybody else would, and the budget was so low, and it was so rushed, and it was so cheesy, and I was like, oh, this will be a miracle if this thing lasts a week. It really will. It's so crazy, And then it went on another week, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I started getting phone calls in the middle of the night. I'm listed in the phone book, Cassandra Peterson, at my address, at my house. I start getting calls all night long and all day long. And
like creepy calls or just?
All kinds of calls. Like, will you come to my hair salon? Will you come to my opening of my supermarket? And creepy calls too. Yes, a lot of breathing. That's where we came up with the character, the breather, because I was getting those kind of calls. And yeah, I really did not think it would last. I was so shocked. I kept my day job. I was still a temporary secretary during the day. And one day when I went into work at some insurance office, there was this bunch of construction workers outside, and they somehow put 2 and 2 together and recognized me somehow, I don't know how, as Elvira, and they all started screaming and giggling like little girls. It was the weirdest thing, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm famous or something. It was really weird. And then I thought, this thing is going to actually keep going, and it did. One of the funny things, that the show obviously didn't have that much faith in the show either, because they were renting the couch and from a prop house every week, and then like 6 or 7 years later somebody realized that they hadn't stopped renting the couch. They could have bought the couch for like $200 or $300, but they were paying $150 a week to rent it. So I bought the couch from them for $300, and I say it's the world's most expensive couch. I think they added up to about $27,000 in rent for the couch.
You still have that couch?
I still have it, and I'm sure that prop guy doesn't have a job.
So, over the years, you have hosted dozens and dozens of films, and you just did, this past Halloween, you did, I think it was 13 for Hulu, is that right?
I did 13 movies called 13 Nights of Elvira for Hulu, and I'm very happy to say we get all the movies from Charles Band, who's here, signing autographs. Perfect movies. I mean, they were like, oh my God, we have Puppet Master and oh God, what are some of the movies? I'm blanking. I told him, I said, I'll be lucky if I can remember my name. My brains are slightly fried from writing names all day. But Puppet Master and, oh yeah,
Gingerbread Man.
Oh, Gingerbread Man. Oh my God, I love Gingerbread Man because I got to put Gary Busey down. He's such a creep. Anyway, and Evil Bong 2 with Tommy Chong, who I love. Okay, so right up Elvira's alley, if you know what I'm saying. Those movies were perfect, and we hosted them. They're still on Hulu. If you have Hulu Plus, I think, or something, you can see them. 13 Nights of Elvira, but they're really fun. I got to be a little more risque in those because there were no commercials.
Well, in the original one, well, even in the most recent ones, all your intros, all of that stuff, you wrote all of that material yourself, right?
I write all my material myself with a writing partner. I always have a partner. I had, for many years, 21 years, I had John Paragon, who you guys may know as Jumpy the Genie from Pee-wee's Playhouse, the head in the box. And he's more than just a head in the box. He is my co-writer. And so John wrote almost every single project with me, and then including Mistress of the Dark and Haunted Hills. And then I have a new writer as of a few years ago, Ted Biaselli, who also is an executive at Netflix. It's very bizarre. In his spare time, he writes material for me. And but basically, those two people over the entire span of my career have been co-writing with me. A few other people here and there on the way.
So where does Elvira's sense of humor come from? Is that a lot of you? Is there a lot of you in her, or a lot of her in you?
I think, well, I sort of figured out like a few years ago that Elvira is me when I was a teenager. I was a really know-it-all, smart-ass, couldn't tell me what to do, didn't, really, very kind of tough. I really was. I was very, probably impossible to be around. But I was a really cocky little 14, 15, 16-year-old. And I really sort of decided, that Elvira is that personality. But she's never grown up, She's a lot older and she still acts like a smart-ass 14-year-old.
If that's the case, because I've got teens and I know they're not enjoyable.
Be afraid, be very afraid.
Yeah,
yes, I have one too.
And if she is, you as a teenager, why is the character so popular? What has made Elvira that person that we all know and love?
I don't know. I get for a lot of fans who come up to me at these conventions. I love it because I really get insight into why people do love the character, and so often it's people who, boys and mostly girls, but a lot of boys too, who grew up feeling bullied and feeling like they were a misfit and like they, just didn't fit in anywhere. And they will tell me so many times that it's so weird to hear. It makes me so happy. It's the best part about doing this job. They'll tell me that I was their idol and I gave them the strength and courage to be who they were, to be different, and it was okay. So that makes me, let me tell you, if there's one thing I did my whole life, if I could make a few people feel like they fit in when they were a kid, because boy, I didn't feel like I fit in when I was a kid. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I didn't even fit in that dress. Oh, line from my movie, sorry. It just popped out. And anyway, so many people tell me that, and that's so flattering. It's so nice. And girls also say a part that it's okay to be sexy and sort of flaunt yourself, but not be a bimbo. Still be yourself and not. A lot of times you're either really sexy and you're sort of like getting pushed around by guys and being a dork, or you're really strong and tough and you look like Hillary Clinton or something, you know? I mean, not that I don't love Hillary Clinton, but I mean, it's a sexy and sort of savvy and smart don't usually go together. So I think it gives girls a chance to be who they are, not to kowtow to guys, sorry guys, but be who they are, look sexy, and have an attitude. It's good.
One of the things you and I discussed when we did the interview was you kind of led the way. We now have Women in Horror Month, much more appreciation for female horror directors, female horror stars. You kind of broke the ground for them, wouldn't you say? Or is that saying too much?
I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. That's flattering. I think I did a little bit. Kind of early on, there wasn't really much of that going on. I mean, one of the weirdest things was that I showed up at Comic Con in San Diego so far back in the day that I was like the only girl there, and I'm not kidding. Maybe there was a couple crawling around in there, I don't know, but Comic Con in San Diego, which as you know is the largest the largest Comic Con in the world, I would say, the biggest attendance and everything, still to this day, was in a basement of a motel, and it was really comics and only comics. And I happened to have a comic book series at that time. I had a Marvel comic book and a DC comic book. And so it was just very, very weird and unusual for a girl to even be there and be, you know, signing autographs. They weren't even walking around getting autographs, you know. So women really weren't involved that much in the whole pop culture, comic, horror thing in the beginning. It was mainly guys, and I've seen it kind of blossom over the years, and I hope that I was instrumental in getting females into the genre more and more accepted, and they accepting horror. And you know, and the girls aren't all the victims anymore. They used to just be, I mean, if you look at the old 50s horror movies, all the women are just the victims. They're just there being fodder for the monster to kill, you know. Now it's so much different. I'm so happy to say, kind of equality in horror films. So I hope I was instrumental in that. Yeah, I've been around a long time. Got to be instrumental in something.
So, as someone who has seen so many, both good and bad horror films, what is it about horror, do you think, that makes it stick with us? Why do we like being scared, or why do we like watching the cheesy ones that, you know, you can still see the zipper at the back of the suit, but it's still enjoyable? What is it about horror that gives it that impact? I
mean, my theory is that the cheesy ones and the horror, really scary ones, are very, very different things. I mean, the cheesy ones are kind of for comedy value, for camp value, for somebody set out to make a serious movie and it turned into a big piece of crap, and you can laugh at that, you know. Doesn't happen as often as these days as it did back then. But there was an innocence about it that was so kind of refreshing, you know. I watch those movies and they're like comfort food to me, and they're just so, oh my God, it was an earlier time and America was so different and so naive, and it's just a nice, you know, feeling. The horror movies, I honestly think is a chemical rush. I think it has to do with adrenaline. And I think it's like a roller coaster ride, the same reason roller coasters are popular. It's, you get this giant, scary rush of adrenaline, and you're not doing your flight or, what is it, flight or fight, you know, because you're sitting in a chair. So you're having to sit there and have this giant adrenaline rush. Then it lets you down, it calms you down, you have a little rest, and then it takes you up again. So I think I honestly think horror movies, I think everybody who likes them is an addict. That's what I'm trying to say. No, no, it is like a chemical rush in your brain, I think. And I think people love that. And it's fun to also know that you're safe, you're being scared, but you're hopefully sitting somewhere where you're safe and where that's not going to happen to you when you walk out the door.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I know who your favorite horror star is because you shared that with me, and I'll let you tell the audience. But what about your favorite horror film from the old golden days?
Back in the day. I'm going to stick with House on Haunted Hills, really, because it has such great memories for me, because that is the movie that got me into horror films. When I was like in second grade, I think, second or third grade, my cousin took me to the cheap theater downtown for like my first horror movie, and he really probably shouldn't have done it. You know, he was like a teenager, and I don't think my parents appreciated when I started waking up screaming in the middle of the night for the next month or two. But I was at the same time repelled and in love with that movie, and thought about it, dreamed about it, obsessed about it, and Vincent Price became my favorite actor. I had to see everything he was in, and back in those days, all those Poe movies were coming out, you know, and like Vincent said to me, yeah, they were Poe, they were very Poe. But you know, all the great Roger Corman movies that were loosely based on Edgar Allan Poe, films like The Raven and The Tomb of Lygia, Pit and the Pendulum. If any of you guys have seen Haunted Hills, my movie, I based that whole movie on those Roger Corman films, and I think people who are aware of those films get Haunted Hills more than people who haven't seen that genre, but that was kind of my tribute to those films, because this got me started in the whole horror thing, and that was like 1959 or something. Scary, maybe 60, I don't know. Thanks.
How long ago?
Damn, I'm old.
Now, you brought up the fact that, of course, Vincent Price is your favorite actor of all time. There's some clips you guys can find.
And Brad Pitt.
Pardon me?
And Brad Pitt. For a whole different reason.
Well, you said there's clips of you with Vincent on YouTube that you guys can find, but talk about some of the times you met Vincent when he was still with us.
Yeah, Vincent and I just got to meet his daughter, just like at the last con that I was at in Dallas, I think. I met his daughter, who looks so much like him in a good way. She's a very attractive, that's such a Vincent Price vibe going on. I don't know how you get those two together, but anyway, it's pretty thrilling for me to meet his daughter. But every time, for a period of time, every time Vincent Price got an award in Hollywood, or for the Count Dracula Society, or the Saturn Awards, or you name it, I was the person who was always called in to give him his award. And so we got to know each other really well. We appeared on the Tom Snyder talk show with, it was me, Vincent Price, and Stephen King, which was totally awesome. We were on the Tonight Show 2 or 3 times together, and Vincent came on my TV show, Movie Macabre, along with John Aston, which was like, I thought I was dreaming. I was losing it, because my favorite television show was The Addams Family. And so to actually be there with Vincent Price and John Aston was like, oh my God, I dreamed, I died, I went to hell. So that was pretty thrilling, but I really got to know Vincent quite well, and saw him on so many times and hung out with him. He taught me how to cook fish in my dishwasher. It's awesome. And anyway, we got to do it. You know, Vincent was an amazing cook, you know, and wrote cookbooks. He also gave me one of his cookbooks that he did, this big, giant, bronze-colored book. And he taught me how to make dishwasher fish, which you wrap a piece of fish in aluminum foil, and then you put it in your dishwasher with the dirty dishes, and then when it comes out, it's cooked. So anyway, that was great.
How was it?
It was great. It was perfect. You put some herbs and salt and pepper, and you make sure the aluminum foil is closed very tightly. But anyway, I got to know him, and he was one of the funniest people I ever met. I told him every time I saw him, you missed your calling, you should have been a comedian. He was hilarious. And his wife, Coral Brown, was an actress, as you may know, an English actress, and she was tough. She was a tough cookie. She always scared me. I mean, I'd come walking over to Vincent, she'd be there kind of glaring at me, and hi, Vincent. It was just weird, but she got to be very friendly with me after she figured I wasn't trying to pick him up, I guess, or something. I don't know what she thought, but they're just wonderful, wonderful couple, and he was just such a great guy. Miss him.
Any other, as Elvira, any other of those oh my God moments when you got to meet someone that you looked up to over the years?
I had a lot of those moments. It was always pretty awesome. I'd be sitting in a restaurant like one time, and I get a tap on my shoulder. It was Richard Dreyfuss, who back then was really big as Jaws was out, and he said, "Oh, I'm such a big fan," and I'm just thinking, these people are fans of me. It was so bizarre. And Michael Jackson, one time, I was backstage at the Grammys, and Michael Jackson was like, "Oh, Elvira, I just love you so much. I should have had you in Thriller." And I'm like, "Oh God, you should have." And Anyway, I mean, people like that, meeting them and having them say they're a fan of yours is like, what? You know, I don't get it. It was cool though. Totally awesome.
You mentioned Haunted Hills, and another one of your films, of course, was Mistress of the Dark, which I think a lot of people here probably have seen, I hope. Any great recollections of making that, or just odd stories in regards to the production?
Yeah, Mistress of the Dark was one of the most fun experience I ever had without sleeping. It was great. It was, from writing it was the best experience I ever had with John Paragon and Sam Egan, who's another writer who came on board for that. And we had the most fun coming up with those jokes and stuff. We were just cracking each other. We were eating pizza and making jokes all day, every day for months. And so coming up with that was great. And then shooting it was incredibly fun. I mean, it was fun, and there were moments. We had a lot of fights with the production going about. We wanted this scene, and they didn't want it. And, yeah, there was a lot going on. We didn't have the teenagers in the movie initially, and the big fight over putting them in. They go, well, teenagers aren't going to go see the movie if there's no teenagers in it. And we were going, hello, aliens? I mean, stuff like that, you know. But anyway, it was a great, great experience, and there were some really fun and bizarre moments. One of them being that they wouldn't let me shoot the Las Vegas scene. We had run out of money. There was no budget for the whole Las Vegas scene. And so we're just going to end the movie with me sitting on the porch going, oh, bummer, dude, I didn't get to go to Las Vegas. I mean, it was insane. I laid in the executive producer's office blocking his door for like about a day and said I wasn't going to move until I talked to him and like begged him to put that scene back in. And he finally did, and the day we get to shoot it, and I'm doing my whole big dance number and the tassel twirling, of course, which, by the way, I learned when I was 14. I knew it would come in handy. And I had the flu, serious flu, and I had like about 104 fever. I didn't know where I was, and I had to do that number. That was our one day to shoot. It did not matter if I was dying. And so when you see that whole Vegas scene, just remember, I was like insanely sick. It was so weird that I got through it. I'm so happy it came out even semi-decent, because I was in almost a coma that day. Anyway, so we got it shot though, it got in the movie, and it came out okay. I was like, oh, phew.
And it was fairly well received. It certainly hasn't gotten
well,
right?
It had, I mean, this is like sour grapes, but the movie was slated to be released in 3,200 theaters on opening day. We had a big, big party in Hollywood at the Roman's Chinese Theater, another big, big party at Tavern on the Green in New York City. Everything was just amazing. All these celebrities were coming to the party. It was so awesome. Everything was fantastic. Big, big opening. 3,200 theaters, and the day the movie was slated to come out, the distribution company went bankrupt. New World. I went from releasing in 3,200 theaters to 320 theaters. And even if you were Star Wars, you could not be a hit if you were in 320 theaters. Your opening box office, even though all those theaters sold out, was like that. And as far as everyone concerned, it was goodbye movie. That was it. So big, big disappointment after working on that movie for almost 4 years. And luckily, over the years, it has built up a cult status. I mean, that's how it happened. Nothing happened box office-wise. That's why I never got another movie. Because unless you have a big box office, opening weekend, nobody wants to see you. That's it. And so, anyway, I'm glad I made it. I still love the movie. It has so many fans. I'm still very proud of it. It has, over the years, built up into kind of a big pop culture thing. I'm still PO'd to Siskel and Ebert, though. They said I was a terrible actress, and I'm like, what? I was Elvira. I wasn't even acting. It's so weird.
And what nowadays, what are you doing? I know backstage we talked a little about some of your projects coming up. What are you working on now?
I am working on a long-term project, one of the world's longest-term project, my autobiography. I think you've all heard all of it now, so by this time you won't need to buy the book. Working on that forever, and then working on an animated project, and putting the characters together, having sketches made, everything, having an agent, all that, and then taking it out to sell to hopefully a cable station. And that's been a project I've been wanting to do for years and years and years. And very excited about being animated. So much easier than actually having to be there, right?
Would you go back? Would you like to go back and do a regular introduction of movies? Or I know you had mentioned to me before that you had hoped to do a television series, which is kind of what led to the movie, of the first movie. Is that right?
Yeah, I did a TV series. It wasn't a series; it was one. It was a pilot called The Elvira Show, appropriately enough, for CBS, and. That's another really sour grapes kind of story. I hate to have these stories, but these things happened that were so sort of bizarre. Did this pilot for CBS. The president was Jeff Sagansky. He loved it. It was his pet project. The show went fantastic. Catherine Hellman was playing my aunt. Everything was fantastic. They did not have to sweeten the show, which I don't know if you know, but when you do a television show, they have canned laughter in it. And they didn't have to use canned laughter because the laughter was so big in the audience that they didn't have to sweeten it. They were telling me, this is the first time this ever happened. It was just great. Everybody was on a super high. We knew it was going to go. It was going to be fantastic. And the day that they chose all the pilots for the lineup for the fall season, Jeff Sagansky, the president, got sick, went to the hospital, and they flew in a guy from New York named David Stringer, who was the head of sports for CBS. He was the guy choosing the lineup for fall, and he saw me and goes, "Who's that? Never heard of her." Ugh. And that was the end of that show. Bummer. So all these little things happen, and you go, damn, things would have been so different if, that hadn't happened. But anyway, I'm proud of that show. It was a fun show. If you kind of look online, you look up the Elvira show, you can actually watch that pilot. I don't know how it got online, but it's there. It's pretty funny.
So here we are, more than 30 years since you started as Elvira. Can you believe you're still sitting here talking about the character? You're still doing the character. I mean, she's still as popular, if not more popular today than she was when you started. Is it hard to wrap your mind around that sometimes?
It's hard for me to wrap my mind around it all the time. It's a trip. I can't believe it's lasted this long. It's pretty almost impossible in Hollywood for a character or a person to really endure, that long. So I never know what it's about. I have a sneaking suspicion it's about Halloween has a little something to do with it, because every year I'm back, and every year, Halloween comes around, everybody starts calling me to do this and that TV show, this and that appearance, and suddenly I'm back again. It's a little bit like Santa Claus, he's been around for quite a long time, and every year he's got a permanent gig, And it's kind of what happened with me. So I really think Halloween, of course, is a big part of it. So I'm very fortunate that that happens. So if you're an actor and you want to really hang in there, you hook yourself to a holiday, and you're set, you're gold.
So I know we've only got a few more minutes left. I think a natural question. Oh, we have questions from the floor?
Well, where did it come from? I sort of talked about that. You mean? The name Elvira. Oh, the name Elvira. That was literally pulled out of a Folgers coffee can. I was getting ready to shoot my first show. They were going to call me Vampira, and quickly found out that they could not use that name. And all of a sudden, they were scrambling for a name right before we shot the show. And everybody in that room wrote down on pieces of paper a name that they thought would work. I wrote Cassandra. Awesome, smart, really thinking. And we put them in a can, and I picked it, and I go, Elvira? Oh my God, that sounds like a country western star to me. I don't know, that's the name we went with. So, and what scares me? Not much, really. Not much scares me. I'm pretty unscarable by this time. Damn, what does scare me? Doing interviews sometimes, like that one I did with you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, one more question, guys, and then unfortunately we've got to wrap it up.
I have a question. He asked you about Elvira Mistress of the Dark just now. I was going to ask that question about that scene, but when I Googled your name a few months ago, and I found out you didn't cover albums in the 70s. especially one with Elvis Presley. I was wondering if you had stories about that.
Oh, are you thinking about the Tom Waits one? Not
No,
Elvis.
maybe that. Maybe
Yeah.
that the name.
Yeah, Tom Waits. I did. Well, I did back in the. Oh my God, back in the '70s, I was a modeling for Playboy models, and I did lots and lots of videos for all the. Video was just out like MTV, and I swear, if you see some of the old videos, I made so many, you won't believe it. I did it for 1,000,001 people, and a lot of book covers, a lot of horror posters, old posters. I've did so many. I'm always a dead corpse, and I guess dead and corpse kind of. Okay, and I show up in all that stuff. It's funny how many pictures floating around of me there are out there. What was the other thing you were saying? What was the? Oh yeah, that Tom Waits. I don't know if that's me on the Tom Waits cover. It's really weird. Yeah, I know. I have no idea if that's me. Probably is, because I did that kind of work. But wouldn't you remember if you shot a cover with Tom Waits? I don't know. But it was the '70s. I know. I always say I don't remember anything I did in the '70s. I went straight from the '60s to the '80s. Skip the '70s entirely.
Okay, one more question, guys. Lady in the blue right here.
I think that's you. Yeah, you're in the blue. Oh yeah, I've seen them many times. I love the way they rip me off. I mean, the way they portray me. No, I love them. I think they do a great job. I think it's very different and funny that they have all three of them. And that's actually kind of how John and I would write our stuff, sitting in a little tiny theater watching the films on an actual film projector and making jokes about everything that came up. So I thought it was really cool and awesome, and I just wish I had been one of those guys sitting in the audience. Yeah, that was cool.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I know there's another Q&A coming in right after us. I'm not sure who it is, so I was already waved to from the sidelines, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But if we can have a round of applause for Elvira.